All right, welcome. Another edition of It's Still Real to Me. Everything It's Still Real to Me. Everything ZASLOW Show 2.0 brought to us by our title sponsor, Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorneys. 800-747-FREE. That's 800-747-3733. You've been involved in an accident. You deal with a personal injury from a hit and run, slip and fall, car accident, boating, motorcycle, whatever it is. I send you to Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorneys, because they're going to get you the money you deserve while treating you like family. Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorneys, 800-747-FREE, 800-747-3733. Our pal is Joey Levine, as we will recap the world of pro wrestling here. It is a Saturday morning. Good to see you. How you doing? Good morning, Joey.
Doing well. How you doing, Zaz?
I'm good. I wanted to start the show today, actually. So earlier in the week, believe it or not, I have not gotten around to the Cody Rhodes documentary yet. Like, that's stupid, right?
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay. So I
not stupid. We're busy people.
I need to get around to it. But I did watch the other day, and I watched it with my younger son. We watched Angle. All right, the new documentary on Peacock.
That's sort of a heavy doc for a kid.
Yeah. A lot of drugs, pills, that kind of deal. Yeah. So I use it as a learning tool. I turned to him at one point. I go, "You're never going to do drugs, right?" So I use it. You're
going to be teaching him about the Sackler family and Purdue Pharma and OxyContin. Yeah, there's a lot of shows about that now too.
So I'll tell you though, this Angle documentary. I mean, I was blown away with it, and not even like, it's about 2 hours. The first half of the movie is pre-WWE, and the second half is WWE. Oh, and his pro wrestling career, I should say. And I pretty much knew everything in the second half of the movie. But except, there's some clips where he's really addicted to the drugs and the pills and that kind of stuff. Like, maybe I didn't know all of that, so still into the ultimatum, essentially, the wife gives him, and, Steve Austin talking about him slurring his words. And so maybe I didn't know all that stuff. But all the pro wrestling stuff, pretty well aware of it. The first half of the movie, though, just his road to winning the gold medal, and then, of course, being a part of the Foxcatcher team.
Yep.
I was blown away with this documentary. I thought it was so damn good. Like, I cannot recommend it enough. I thought it was amazing, and he's like a real American hero. He really is. Obviously winning the gold medal, but just
with a broken freaking neck.
With a broken freaking neck. But the whole story behind it, and I love how they told you about, like, it's not like, for those who don't know, it's not as if he broke his neck during the gold medal match. He was wrestling with this broken neck for a long time. And they go over the moment he actually broke his neck. And the dirty wrestler who is trying to hurt him, because everybody knows he has a broken neck. And but it was so interesting because Kurt's like, yeah, I would have done the same thing, and like, what a difficult sport, by the way, amateur wrestling.
Crazy.
It's a crazy sport.
Yep.
I loved it. I thought this documentary was so good. I was so impressed with him. He is a real American hero.
I watched it too. I actually watched it, I think the night it came out, of the night after, just because I was looking for something to watch. It's really well done. It's the same guy who did the Cody documentary. So like the same director. Cody actually, that's what it was. I was watching a Cody interview, and he was like talking about his documentary, and he's like, well, that guy's moved on to Kurt's documentary, so whatever. Like, jokingly, like, it's going to be great, but I'm not worried about that guy because now he's not working with me anymore. So I watched it. I will say, and I think I texted this to you, I knew everything that was in it. There's nothing, because A&E did it a year ago.
Even all the Foxcatcher stuff?
All of it. It's the same. I mean, the story didn't change. The one on A&E a year, those A&E Legends biographies are they're an hour and a half, but when they were live on A&E, they were like 2-hour documentaries. A lot of the interviews, not the same interview footage, but basically same line of questioning, same stories. interviewing people from his past, the stuff with his wife being fed up, the fox catcher. I mean, it was all in the A&W thing.
Yeah.
It was a very similar documentary. This one was I think maybe a little produced better, whatever, but either way, I mean, the story is so incredible that you can't not watch it. And then both times, the drug stuff is not shocking to me because we all knew even before these documentaries that Kurt had all the drug issues. Or at least most wrestling fans knew that. The thing that always gets me when I watch it is when he was coming up as a wrestler, that he created his own work. Like he created his own conditioning program to become the best in the world. He created the exhaustion training, because he was like, I'm fighting heavyweights, but I'm not as big as these guys. I'm not as strong as these guys. And they're all like, his whole thing was they're sort of slow and plodding and this and that. I'm just going to outwork them. And the only way to outwork them is no one's going to work harder than me in the gym. And I'm going to work myself to complete exhaustion so that when I get into these matches, I can just go for an hour straight and it doesn't matter. Like he sort of was the pioneer of that kind of training to where different like hybrid athletes could be like a heavyweight in a sport like that. That was the thing in both that always stuck out to me as like, this guy's an absolute machine, psychopath. Crazy.
He's incredible. Like why? And I loved him when he was in his prime. He was one of my favorites. But I do wonder, why wouldn't people give their Mount Rushmore of pro wrestlers? Why is he never in it? Because
he was in the Attitude Era. And like I mean, really, if you're a wrestling fan, I feel like most of the time when people do Mount Rushmores or top five, they try to like at least include a few different eras. But everyone includes The Rock and Austin. Like everyone includes The Rock and Austin. So you're not going to do like.
So it's like at best, he's not included because he was third at best in his own era.
Right. And was he? Because Undertaker was an Attitude Era. He may have been Triple H was an Attitude Era.
Yeah.
Right. So he's a victim in that case of being part of what's considered the greatest era of wrestling,
Yeah.
But you know what I also was thinking this time around was because one of the interesting things is also, his whole story of when I got out of the Olympics, I think they showed him on, I don't know if it was
like Larry King or something. Yeah.
And he's like,
Larry King, but it was one of the shows.
Yeah. And he's like, I'm not going to do professional wrestling. I'm a real wrestler.
I do real wrestling. Yeah.
Right. And then goes from that to being not just one of the best in-ring performers, but one of the greatest characters ever. I mean, everything he did was hilarious. Right?
Well, that part is what's so impressive, where a dude who was probably so serious his entire life, because his entire life involved training for the Olympics. A dude who was so serious, turns out, has a great personality and is really
amazing.
Funny.
Yeah. You know what I couldn't help but think this time around while I was watching? Why, like, Ronda Rousey? I'm like...
Oh, because they're tight.
No, but I'm saying, like, the reason she failed was because she always thought she was like bigger than wrestling and that she's a real fighter.
Why couldn't she be more like?
Why couldn't she model herself? Like, why wouldn't she just like look at Kurt Angle and be like,
she takes this shit too serious.
You know what? If she could have looked at him and been like, this guy was a gold medalist who came in saying I'm better than this sport.
Yeah.
But then dove headfirst and became one of the greatest ever.
That's not her.
She had that in her. And, he like sort of, again, he sort of pioneered being able to do that. And she failed because she refused to do that. That was what popped into my head during this one.
Yeah, she failed because she takes it all way too serious.
Yeah.
Way too serious.
Yeah. But no, it was great. It's really good. His story's incredible. If you haven't seen it, it's like, I mean, it's one of the more remarkables. And he also came up in an era where a lot of people didn't make it out of what he went through. Like he could have died many times. There's a lot of professional wrestlers and even just athletes in general. They were in an era where, like, if you got hurt for anything, doctors, especially at that time, because that was the rise of sort of the beginning of Oxy and Somas and that type of stuff in the United States, doctors were passing that shit out like candy.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're traveling 365 days a year, you're drinking, you're not getting real recovery. Angle's a lucky guy, man. You know, we talk about a lot of the wrestlers who are, you know, like guys that are lucky to still be alive now, but Angle's like got to be near the top of the list, particularly because when you're taking 50 pills a day, not just the fact that he could have died from an overdose, but like the fact that he's not like having like liver failure and kidney failure now. Like it's just,
well, he has said, and I know it's a physical
I know he's
thing,
having a rough time now.
He said his quality of life's kind of rough.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, yeah, but I think
Sucks.
I'm sure part of that is he broke his neck twice, and
I think that's exactly what it is.
Right. I'm just saying the pill, like
yeah,
like he probably should be dead. Like, let's be honest, he should probably be dead.
He was taking 60 some odd pills a day. Right. He said at one point.
He's basically just like,
my son turned to me. He said, how didn't he die? How didn't he overdose? Like, I don't know.
And that's what I'm saying. It's like guys did. A lot of guys did. A lot of guys didn't make it out of that circumstance that Kurt Angle made it out of. And he's lucky. And that's what's probably the most remarkable thing about the whole story is that he is still alive. It's crazy.
Were you old enough? He knew nothing about pro wrestling when he joined. Nothing. He knew nothing about it. And I love when he tells the story. I don't know if they did this in this documentary, but I love when he tells the story about how, you know, one of his first matches and he was in Pittsburgh, and or maybe it wasn't even Pittsburgh, but it was one of his first matches, and they wanted him to be a heel, and he was like, I'm an American hero. They're not going to boo me. Yeah. And they're like, they are definitely going to boo you. All right.
No, I remember that. Yeah.
They are definitely going to boo you. Are you old enough to remember when he won his first title? He won it from was it in a 3-way against The Rock and Stone Cold? I think so. It was. And he won his first title. And it's a great call by JR too. And he's crying as he's going back up the runway, you know? And Jim Ross, he's crying. Oh my God, he's crying. It was just the whole gimmick, the personality. He was amazing. And even just, you know, then when he became a babyface and he led the WWE in the invasion angle, and he comes out with the milk and again, JR, great soundtrack for all of Kurt Angle's great moments where he comes out with the milk truck and sprays them all. And the $1 billion princess has become the Dairy Queen. Amazing line. And then just completely shifting from being, you know, that guy to being the wrestling machine, where he is just like the biggest badass ever. And then, of course, when he got to TNA, I actually spoke to EC3 about it the other day on my show. Go back, Zaslow Show 2.0 if you didn't catch it. NWA World Champion EC3 was on the show. And, I mean, he loves Kurt Angle. And so I told him, like, yeah, like TNA version of Kurt Angle was ridiculous. Just the evolution of that character and what he was able to do, because you look at him where he was.
That's also where they were where people were calling him Perk Angle, right? Because he was like,
is that right?
Was he? I think he was in a rough. I think,
definitely. Because at that point, WWE they got rid of him. They're like, you got to leave.
Yeah. I think he was in a. I mean, that I remember. I didn't really watch a ton of that run. I've gone back and watched some of it now, and people say it was incredible. But he was also like like he probably shouldn't have been having that run.
Yeah. He was ridiculous, that version of him.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but also, I'd say to me, like the wrestling and his in-ring stuff has always been incredible. But the stuff I will remember of his WWE run the most, no question, is the backstage stuff with him and Austin. When Austin was hurt and him and Austin were doing they were like trying to, them and McMahon, and like when Austin got him to wear the little cowboy hat and all that stuff. And then also underrated was his backstage stuff that he was doing with Brock when they were kind of doing their thing. Like, who's the real like tough guy? Who's the real big man? And they would like he would chug milk to show that he was tougher than Brock. Like those are all that stuff's on YouTube. It's like, it's worth going back and rewatching. It's pretty hilarious. Like him trying to pop Brock Lesnar in the backstage segments, them in catering. It's all really good stuff.
I understand the rationale behind it, but it kind of sucks that his retirement match was Corbin at this point.
Right.
Like I get it. I understand what they were going for there. It clearly didn't work because you look at Corbin now and it's like, all right, he's doing his thing in NXT, but you know, that kind of match that was supposed to elevate Corbin and it didn't, you know? So that part kind of sucks. Like, wouldn't it have been amazing if you were able to bookend it and it was like you had Cena,
or Brock?
Yeah.
Because with Brock too, I mean, I know Brock's physical, but they could have figured out a way to do a short, impactful match,
But I say Cena, of course, because that was like
because
Cena's
he introduced
first television
Cena,
match.
Yep.
Yeah, that kind of sucks. Like he deserved a lot better, I guess, to finish.
Yeah,
and that's no disrespect to Corbin. It's just
But you know what? I realize now, like, think about all we always make a big deal about the retirement match, but like how many of the the top guys can you obviously Flair, Shawn Michaels sticks out, but then Flair didn't even retire. Like how many guys stick out where you're like, oh yeah, I remember that retirement match and that was a big part of their career. It just doesn't. A lot of times it's not memorable. They try to make it memorable.
I feel like they try to. Yeah.
If Edge is actually retired and doesn't come back, are we in 10 years? Are you gonna be like the Sheamus match on SmackDown? And you'd be like, no, there's so many other memories.
I think you're right. I feel like Flair and Michaels are like the only two where it's, oh my God, amazing retirement matches. Flair, and they actually didn't end up being retirement matches.
Exactly. The Flair is like the Flair Shawn Michaels match, which was Flair's retirement match, was like the pinnacle of a retirement match moment.
Yeah, and I feel like we want to see that for every big star.
Right. Once that happened, you get the shot of HBK saying, I love you, I'm sorry, and then super kicking him and then hugging it. Like, that's it. That's what everybody thinks a retirement match is supposed to be. And most times they don't end up being that.
Never they end up being like that.
Well, yeah, because that's the best one. So
yeah. Sure. All right. So anyway, I recommend it if you haven't seen the documentary Angle. Let's get to some WWE stuff. So let's rewind to Raw, the main event. Gunther versus Gable, Intercontinental title. I didn't see a scenario where Gunther was losing it there. You thought Gable had a legitimate chance of winning that night.
Well, it just felt look. I knew, like you knew, like it was so close to the record that Gunther had to win.
But also, shit, man, it's not happening on Raw.
But WWE also was just playing up Gable so much on social media all day.
I thought it worked. I thought everything they did worked. I thought Gable looked like a big guy now.
Oh, he's getting another shot. And I still think he's going to win it.
I think he's going to beat him. I do.
I think they've done it. I think they've done what they needed to do to make him big enough.
I think
he is. Now, the interesting thing about it is, as soon as Jey Uso showed up, a lot of people are like, "Oh, now people are saying like, oh, he should be the guy."
Nah, I think Jay's bigger than that Intercontinental title. I don't see that.
I don't know about it. I mean, the story is bigger, but he would be cool to see him as I mean, he needs something. He's like, they're trying to make him a legit solo or singles competitor, right? And he's not going to fight Seth Rollins anytime soon. He's not fighting Roman anytime soon. So how do you make him a big singles competitor? You go after the next biggest title, but I don't think he necessarily needs it to be entertaining.
Yeah, I don't think he needs it.
I think it should be Gable. I think they've done what they needed to do. And now Gunther's the all-time, the longest reign of all time. Now he can move on and he can fight Seth Rollins or whoever. But
yeah, like the time, whenever they decide it now, the time has come for Gunther to be in the world title picture.
I mean, I think first, the only problem I had with the match is that not the match itself, but WWE fucked up the commercials. I mean, they just half the match was in picture in picture. And they just messed up. I guess it happens. It was just the timing. They went to commercial, came back for like a move, and then went to commercial again because I guess they messed up the timing of their commercials. And then, for a match like that, man, you need to give them 20 minutes like uninterrupted.
Is there any scenario where they could stretch it out to have the IC title like main event night one of WrestleMania?
No, but I think you could have the IC title main event Fastlane.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
so you think Gable can win this title soon?
Yeah, because I think Gunther's going to be doing something bigger at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I don't know that it's necessarily soon. I think it could still be a few months.
But how can you? Well, then they're going to have to come back to it because I don't think they're going to.
That's what I think. I think they can come back to it. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Like Gable works his way back to it or something.
That's what I think. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that could work too. I still think like I think Gunther's going to be doing something bigger at Mania. I think Gunther is either.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, it's in 6 months, so yeah.
I think Gunther. But I'm saying so. But I don't think it, and I don't think it's going to involve the Intercontinental title. I think he will not have the Intercontinental title by then.
You're probably right.
I think he's either. Here's what I think: it's either Gunther and Brock at Mania, or it's Gunther for the world title at Mania, for the either Seth Rollins for not probably no. It's going to be Cody and Roman probably. So. Maybe Gunther and Seth Rollins or whoever has
Gunther
the title.
And Brock would be so amazing.
Well, that was sort of so.
Wasn't that a rumor for SummerSlam or something recently?
No. Well, no. Remember when we were doing predictions of how this was going to go? I said a few weeks back, or maybe even a month ago, I was like, they'll do like Gunther, like Gable won a match by count out or whatever. Now and then there was the 5-minute match thing where he survived. Now Gunther beat him. Now. Maybe at Survivor Series, you have Gable beat Gunther. Now you could do a 2-month build and have Gunther and Brock at Royal Rumble.
Okay.
And then Gunther beats Brock at Rumble, or Gunther wins the Royal Rumble by eliminating Brock, something like that.
Yeah, it kind of feels like we're headed toward a direction where Gunther is no longer IC title, but wins the Royal Rumble.
Something like that, yeah. But I could see him and Brock doing like whatever the December pay-per-view is, or Gunther wins the Royal Rumble and Gunther and Brock maybe is what's between Royal Rumble and Mania?
Elimination Chamber?
Something. I don't know, whatever. Either way, this has been rumored for a while. They teased it in the Royal Rumble last year. This feels like a program that has to happen at some point. Brock and Gunther.
I think right now, Gunther, an early favorite to win the Royal Rumble, I think is what we're looking at.
And I think, and on Gable, he's earned it. Like, he's so good. Everything he's done since NXT has been awesome. Like,
it's tough because if he was just a few inches taller, he'd be money. He's so small.
Yeah, but I mean. They've done that. I mean, they've done that for years. They've made guys. I mean, Bryan Danielson, Rey Mysterio. He's Angle. He basically is Angle. Like, you could bring back Angle.
Angle is bigger though. He is bigger.
But I'm saying he's an Olympian wrestler who is great on the mic, who's a character who can do basically everything. Remember? I don't know if you remember his NXT gimmick. Do you remember how American Alpha started?
I don't think so. No.
Jason Jordan was sort of like. Was a solo competitor and was kind of like on his own. Chad Gable used to go around with a towel that said "Ready, Willing, and Gable." Yes, I remember that. That was like his way of trying to convince Jason Jordan to become his tag partner. And he would be like, "Are you ready, willing, and Gable?"
That's funny.
And then that's how they became American Alpha. And then the rest is history.
Well, and it makes sense, of course. You got the Kurt Angle connection that he was tag partners with Kurt's son, so that makes
that was. I remember when that happened, everyone was like, "How is it not Gable? How is it not Gable?" It's so crazy. Now he's awesome,
dude. I love this.
He's been one of my favorites. He's been one of my favorites for a while. I'm happy to see that he's getting this moment.
I love this shit. How about the daughter crying? I love that shit.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I feel bad for her because they're real tears and she doesn't get it and she's really upset, but I love that shit, man.
But you know what? It'll make it so much better for her when he wins.
Yeah.
It'll make it so much better when he wins.
God, I love that. And like Gunther staring at her, this is your father, and then he chops him. Oh, I love that stuff, man.
Can I ask you? Is there a possibility? Because this was announced last week, like the prior week, that this match would not be on Payback; it would be on Raw.
Okay.
And the Sean Ross Sapps and the Meltzers and the Alvarez's of the world were saying was that Triple H doesn't like to load up the pay-per-views. He likes to he wants something for people to watch Raw.
Yeah, good.
But is it possible? That Triple H pays attention to the landscape of wrestling and was like, "Oh, you're going to main event a pay-per-view with the international title with my old guy Moxley? Let me show you how a real intercontinental international title match is supposed to look."
Well,
and made it.
I don't think that played a role at all. But it is interesting that you bring that up, because one thing I was thinking about this week was, okay, so both shows were coming off of pay-per-views, right? You had Payback last weekend and All Out. And WWE came back from their pay-per-view with the main event of Gunther versus Chad Gable, which was awesome. And Dynamite came back from their pay-per-view with a main event of Darby Allin and Nick Wayne. And it's like, get the fuck out of here. Yeah, and I understand. Look, Darby Allin and Nick Wayne was a fine enough match, but get the fuck out of here with Nick Wayne main eventing Dynamite in any scenario, let alone after the pay-per-view. Like that was so bizarre to me. Why is Nick Wayne main eventing a pay? Why do I give a fuck about Nick Wayne?
Hasn't this been? I mean, this has been AEW since the beginning. They are, and actually,
it's so weird to me.
There was really some really good stuff on Dynamite that we'll talk about, like to build stories.
Yeah,
but AEW in general has always had they've been terrible at capitalizing on momentum. Like they just came off of. We haven't talked about All Out yet, but All Out was great. It was awesome. And they followed up, like you said, with this. Like an underwhelming, wrestling-wise, a pretty underwhelming show. But they always do that. It's like...
so weird.
It's like for some reason, AEW has a problem with capitalizing when they're at their hottest. Like, I gotta say, Punk leaving has re-energized me, because all these storylines now that we didn't have before, and there's a lot of cool stuff happening there, and I think AEW is really good right now.
I do too.
But
everything that's going on, you're putting Nick Wayne in the main event on my fucking television? Get out of here.
I know, and I get it. They're trying to really. Well, do we want to get in AEW right now? I mean, we still have so much WWE stuff. I mean, or
let's finish up a couple other things with WWE, and then we'll do that. We'll circle back to. But man, like that really bothered me on Wednesday nights. And the match was fine, but why do I care about this kid? Like, get out of here, main event. You know?
Yeah, for the main event, I get what you're saying. I like the story, that whole storyline. I don't like. And it's my AEW fans are going to hate this because of the whole tribal online community thing. I don't like Darby Allin. I think his gimmick is stupid. I think you want to talk about small? You want to talk about small? That's the small. He might be the smallest wrestler. He's smaller than Nick Wayne. I don't think Darby Allin is entertaining. Cool. I get it. Wow. You can dive head first into the guardrail. Awesome. That doesn't make you a great professional wrestler in my eyes.
And he's hurt now too. You heard him say, because diving back first onto a metal coffin is so stupid.
Cool. Like, oh, kids like him. Oh, this is the guy we want kids to like. The emo, like,
my son loves him. My younger son loves him.
Oh, emo, depressed. Oh, the world sucks. So I'm just gonna dive backwards onto the floor. No, that's not the guy. We want kids to like Chad Gable, an American hero.
You're right. You're
right. So. You know, but I get it. They push him because kids like him for whatever. He's on a skateboard and all that shit. But yeah, that's why the main event happened, because they like to push Darby in that spot. But yeah, I don't get it.
Can I also tell you from Monday Night Raw, that performance by The Miz was something else.
Miz is he's always been so good.
That performance was something else. First of all, I'm always going to love the crowd popping for the fake entrance. That's always going to make me laugh. You know, whether or not it's The Miz coming out dressed as LA Knight, the crowd thinks they got LA Knight on Raw because he's a SmackDown character, but no, it's The Miz dressed as LA Knight, and then the crowd realizes it. Or on Monday where Cena's music hits and he's nowhere to be found, and then you realize when the cameraman is running to the people, it's like, oh, you can't see him. He's not here.
So good.
Like, that's always going to make me laugh when the crowd realizes that they've just been had. Yeah. But that was some performance. Not just the verbal part of it, but he's doing the skull crushing finale to an invisible man.
Yeah.
He really is the epitome of give him anything and he will make it work.
Yeah. No, it's weird. He gets like this like weird amount of hate. Like or I think
you think it's still like that? I think it's turned.
I think it's turned more, but there's still a lot of people that are like, oh, Miz, you know, whatever.
Incredible.
But he's been that way for so long, and people forget how long he's been doing it. 20 years probably.
Yeah.
The only thing that would have made that would still make this Miz Cena stuff better for me, or that segment would be if I could get R-Truth in the mix. There's the Cena Miz Awesome Truth. They main evented against Cena back in the day, and then Miz fighting an invisible person, R-Truth coming out, because R-Truth used to have little Jimmy, the invisible guy. R-Truth coming out and having some kind of interaction with Miz about how he's talking to nobody that would have been the highlight of my week. I need R-Truth back. I know he was hurt. But yeah, I mean, everything Miz does is great. He's the ultimate. He's not going to go down. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
But he's not going to go down on anybody's like top 20, 30, 40 ever list. But if you had a list of like the top 5, 10 ultimate company WWE guys, he's got to be on that list. I mean, he is.
Yeah, like he's one of those guys, and we had this conversation with Edge. He's one of those guys who will never even consider leaving WWE. Yeah. He is a WWE guy, period. The moment he's not with WWE anymore is the moment he is not a pro wrestler anymore.
Yeah, I mean, outside of Cena, who does more like as a WWE guy, and just in terms of
appearances, all that stuff.
He does whatever they need.
Yep.
In terms of the gimmick and the storyline, but then outside he does everything. He's everywhere. He's the representative. He goes to all the events. He does all the crowd stuff. I'm sure he does Make-A-Wish stuff. Like, he is probably top 3, 4, 5 in the history of the company of a WWE company guy.
Yep. Yeah, he's phenomenal.
Been that good.